So we talked about this before, about there being a Shadowhawk Super Nintendo game that there was going to be a reproduction made of the game that never came out. But boy, did that end when the comic book creator sued the fuck out of them.
Yeah, it was Rose Colored Gaming.
For a trademark infringement using pictures from the comic and obviously the character.
Well, it says that 36 bootlegs did get out there, and one of them ended up getting dumped. But this is good news, and it's actually even better news, not only because it got dumped, but the ROM, the original ROM, was hacked. The one that was supposed to get reproduced, and the one that was
Rose-Colored
Gaming, and the one that ended up finding, there's 36 bootlegs out of there. They changed 262 bytes to fix what they saw as problems in the game, basically collision detection problems and things like that. So aside from fixing the internal header, they made change to the way your character reacts when running into enemies or environmental hazards that can harm you. Rather than the enemy taking damage when you run into them, the unhacked version has this awkward recoil motion that makes it incredibly hard to attack enemies, especially if there are more than one of them near you. And I think the amount of damage you take was reduced in the hack. So while that might make it a more playable game, from a preservationist standpoint, it's not the original game. So our friend, actually Frank Cifaldi, was the one who released this, and he changed those bytes back to the original bytes.
He reverted it.
Yeah, he reverted it back to the original unhacked format, so you have the original game now out there and preserved, which is good. It's getting to the point where it's hard to find sometimes these games in their original form, and for a preservationist, that's actually troubling and annoying. It's he actually brought it up. There was a conversation I saw going on Twitter about how hard it is to find a clean copy of Oregon Trail. The majority of the ones that you can find online are actually played copies that have tombstones already laid down around. When you die in Oregon Trail, you can leave a tombstone marker that has writing on it.
Okay.
And there's one that's always like here lies it's well known. It's like, here lies Jordan pepperoni and cheesy or something like that, and it's spelled wrong, but it's like in every one you download, that tombstone is there because that was the one that was uploaded. So this is an important thing, to not only get the ROM dumped finally, but then to have it reverted back to its natural state, so you can play the original, or if you want to play one that's a little bit more playable, you can, but you actually have the game preserved now,
which is always a good goal.
Yeah.
Lawsuit or reproduction stuff aside. So I had a chance to play it, but I saw some YouTube footage that's getting out there. The first level, it's been out there. It's about 11 minutes. So it's from E Studio, is the developer. I'm not overly familiar with the developer. I'll have to look up, if you want to look up what videos or what games they've done. E Studio. While I just sort of run through.
E Studio? Just E?
E Studio. Sure. Copyright Studio E. It's Studio E Inc.
Okay.
Studio E. But Shadowhawk, I had some comics of Shadowhawk, just because Image was all the rage with their dark heroes and their, metallic covers and stuff. So this game is a 2D sort of beat 'em up platformer. So you jump up, you have a grappling hook that comes out, it looks like your wrist gauntlet. And you can swing up to other levels, and you punch and you kick. And there's like a throwing star. I don't remember reading the 3 Shadowhawk comics I bought.
There's actually not a lot on them. There was 2 canceled games for PlayStation, Pariah and Zulu.
Okay, maybe they existed before, because just looking at the graphics, it's obviously. I haven't played RoboCop versus Terminator in so long, but it's of that sort of ilk, how it looks at least on paper.
Right.
You beat up your thugs. One guy's a trench coat with a gun shooting at you. You have Arnold Schwarzenegger looking, blonde hair, flat top guys who punch you. You have a kick move. Like I said, you have a grappling. It looks like an average average game.
It was based on a comic book. It probably was a very average game.
The comic book was terrible.
Yeah.
The comic book was, let's make Wolverine, but put him in a metal suit. And the one thing I remember about the character, pretty sure he wasn't like and he's kind of like the Punisher. It's like Punisher and Wolverine together. He would like paralyze some of the enemies. He wouldn't kill them. He would like break their backs. That was like his thing he'd do. Yeah, gritty, grim Image. You know, fuck Image Comics. So...
Well, Image is fantastic these days. They're who you want.
Now they are?
Be, yeah.
Okay, back then they blew. Okay, we're going to kill it out. We're the dark superheroes. Yeah, it really lasted the long run. But that's what he did. So in this game, there's, I think, cartoon cutscenes or comic scenes. You see sort of like, I think, what Spider-Man Maximum Carnage had, those little cutscenes in between. But what's interesting is that for the boss fight, it goes from this 2D platformer beat 'em up into a one-on-one fighting mode. With the characters are
a Mortal Kombat game almost.
Being really generous with the praise there.
Yeah.
How about Power Moves?
Okay.
No, Power Moves was actually a beat 'em up too, I think. Anyway, so that's what it transitions into, and like I said, it looks like a decent game. It would have sold okay for that year at most that people like Shadowhawk. I can't believe they made a Shadowhawk game. Then again, they made a Wildcats game, which was a cartoon, which was an Image comic. So really strange, but it's just not a good character. I just don't enjoy it. Don't sue me. Is it Jim Valentino?
Yeah.
Don't sue me. But I'm glad it's out there though. Deserves to be out there.
Yes.
Maybe not in repro form where people making money off the property, but get it preserved so you can enjoy this really mediocre Super Nintendo game.
The end.
Did you watch any of the gameplay footage and see like when it got hit or
yeah, it didn't look like something I needed to spend any time playing.
JP Slaughter is the name of the first boss. Check it out. You can download the ROM. Thanks to Frank Cifaldi for unhacking it, I guess, or the quick hack and getting it out there.